Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Monday, May 31st, it's Ian Cameron and Alex B. Smith with you on this Memorial Day edition of the Ice Guys Show. A happy Memorial Day to everyone in the United States, south of the border from where I am. I hope you enjoy the holiday. Take part in all the usual festivities of Memorial Day, a little barbecue, a little burger and hot dog on the barbecue, a little fireworks display. Hopefully it's a lot more closer to normal than, say, last year Memorial Day at this time, to be able to experience it with family and friends. And as I've said already today, while you enjoy Memorial Day in the United States and the holiday being with people close to you, celebrating, having a few pops as well, that's obviously part of Memorial Day as well. Want to remember those that have paid the price, made the ultimate sacrifice for us to be here today, to be able to rant and rave like a lunatic as I did yesterday about hockey and things like that. And it's those, any public servant, it's not just obviously soldiers, Army, Navy, Air Force, the troops, what they do for us on a daily basis to fight for our freedom. But it's also the public servant workers. It's EMTs, it's police. It's medical professionals, doctors, nurses, the healthcare. We have certainly become well more definitely appreciative of the healthcare sector over the past year because of the pandemic. But it's really everybody that we need to acknowledge on a day like this for helping us to live the lives that we're able to on a daily basis. So happy Memorial Day to everyone in the States. And with that, let's bring in Alex B. Smith, who is back with us on this Monday. We've missed him over the weekend. Alex, welcome back. How are you on this Memorial Day?
Doing good. And yeah, you make a great point. Obviously a salute to all the troops, the dedicated men and women who fought, for both of these countries, the U.S. and Canada, and served their time. But especially, like you said, think of where we were last year. Things are starting to get better now because of those healthcare workers. And, I grew up in a healthcare family, doctor and nurses, parents, and, I'm always around policemen and firefighters, EMTs and sorts. So, everybody who's done a service to help the greater good, kudos to them. And, we're thinking of all of them today on this Memorial Day. But yeah, here we are in the second round of the playoffs for everybody except the North Division. Of course, that will be decided tonight in the Game 7 between Toronto and Montreal. But some interesting stuff to, take apart from these games. And especially now, everybody's kind of buzzing about the suspensions. Of course, Nazem Kadri's suspension upheld. And now we're waiting to see what happens with Ryan Reeves after that ugly incident last night in the blowout win for Colorado.
No doubt. And speaking of that, we'll get into Sunday's recap before we turn to tonight's games. The first game was Tampa Bay and Carolina. I was certainly looking forward to that series. I think it's going to be a great, tight, competitive, hard-fought series. Not much to choose from, in my opinion, between the Lightning and the Hurricanes. And I think we really saw evidence of that yesterday. If you're the Carolina Hurricanes and you walk away from that game with the obviously the tough loss in that game 2-1, you look at it, though, and you say, boy, we played well enough to win. There's no question about that. We are a team that ended up, in terms of 5-on-5 expected goal situations, they were better than Tampa. They had the better margin. If you include the overall and the power play as well, same thing. Carolina had the expected goals margin edge in that game. It just did not translate to a winning result on the scoreboard. That first period, if not for Andrei Vasilevsky being just an absolute tower of power in net, it could have been a different game. Carolina came out with the right kind of start. The PNC Arena crowd was amazing Sunday as well. They say what you will about whether they filled the seats in the regular season, and you always worry about are they a little bit of a bandwagon, fan base maybe. But boy, when they get to the playoffs in Carolina, and they have a home game in the postseason, that building gets loud. And we saw that yesterday, and we've seen that throughout the playoffs. And look, I think it's a situation here where the Carolina Hurricanes can't be deterred. They can't be upset with the way things have gone. I am a little bit concerned to hear Rod Brind'Amour, though, say after the game that Nino Niederreiter is going to miss this series for the Carolina Hurricanes. He got injured in practice on Saturday, and that is going to be a significant loss for the Hurricanes. They do have certainly more than enough talent up front with Stahl and Trocheck and Svechnikov and Aho and Teravainen and Marty Necas, the way he's played here in the playoffs. They've got more than enough, but you're still going to miss Niederreiter. It's Tampa Bay doing what they've done a lot this season, where kind of like the Florida series, the way it started as well. They're the statistics point to a Tampa team that should be losing or should be, maybe not having the success they're having, but they're finding ways. There are some games that the flow of play is going against them. There are some games where the opponent is dictating the play, but guess what? They're winning. That's all that matters. That's all that matters at the Stanley Cup playoffs. You find ways to win the hockey game. And right now, the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing that with their guile, with their experience, with an incredible shot block in the final seconds of that game in Game 1 by Victor Hedman. I think that could have been a tying goal for Carolina if he doesn't block that shot. McDonough has been excellent. They didn't even have David Savard. They got him from Columbus, the Lightning, at the deadline. He didn't play in Game 1 due to injury, and they still overcome that and get the win. So there's lots to like for Tampa Bay. You didn't even play your best, and you won. But there's things to like for Carolina. You played well enough to win. You didn't get the result, but you stick to that kind of game again the rest of this series. You'll take your chance that you're going to get your share of wins in this series. And I'm going to follow through on what I said yesterday, that if Tampa Bay wins Game 1, which I thought they might, I'm going to take Carolina plus 225 now, adjusted series price on the Hurricanes. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right now. I don't think this series is over, not by a long shot. And if you're Carolina, played well enough to win, just stick to it. And in Game 2 and beyond, and you're still going to have a shot in this series. But yeah, Vasilevsky, outstanding. And the scary thing for the opponents against Tampa is Vasilevsky's getting better, it seems, with every game. He got strong toward the end of the Florida series, and he carried it over into Game 1 on Sunday. Alex, what do you think here with Game 1 yesterday, Lightning and Canadiens?
Yeah, I thought Carolina was going to win that game, but I went on and jumped on the series price already at plus 120. Obviously, now you're getting a better price there with that 225. Like I said, it was a close game for the most part, but, Tampa Bay is showing that determination and that killer instinct. It's obviously as a defending Stanley Cup champion and a team that's familiar with being in so many playoff series year after year. They were able to grit out and get that important win. But like I said, I think the series is far from over. For those of you, if you haven't grabbed Carolina, I would say jump on it now at an even better price because, like you said, the crowds. This is going to be a big advantage for whoever wins in this round and moves forward because these are teams that have been playing in front of crazy crowds for 2 rounds now. If they draw the North Division team in the next round, we're talking about a group that hasn't played in front of many crowds if at all. So that's something we have to look at moving down the stretch. But this is going to be a great series. I think Carolina still has a more than a fighting chance in this one, and this one definitely going to go probably I think 6, maybe even 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, some people in our chat saying this is Tampa Bay going to win this series. Absolutely, they can, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. But now I'm going to get a very good price with this Carolina team at plus 220. They can go and win in Tampa. I don't worry about one bit about whether Carolina can win a game or 2 in Tampa. I think they can. They've been solid on the road this season. Remember, they closed out Nashville on the road in Game 6, and I know they lost the first 2 in Nashville, but they played well enough to win both of those games. They had 60 shots in one game against Nashville and didn't win, but they can win on the road. This is going to be a close, long series still, and I don't think Carolina's out of it yet. Obviously, you got to respect what Tampa Bay's done, and not a surprise either. Look, the tide was really on Carolina's favor. In Carolina's favor early, they were taking the play to Tampa, and guess who ended up getting Tampa the first goal and got them going? Braden Point. Are we really that surprised? He is just a magnificent hockey player. And he continues to get better, and he's just a big game player. He shows up at playoff time. There are a couple Leafs that could learn a few things from Braden Point. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But next game on Sunday was Vegas and Colorado. And look, the one thing that I'm disappointed in myself with over this game is I didn't load up more on Colorado. I mean, I had them in regulation. I had the team total over 3.5. I had the full game over 5.5. I could kind of sense that this was going to be a very tough spot for Vegas. 7 hard-fought, intense games with the Minnesota Wild, 48-hour turnaround, playing Sunday night after that Friday night Game 7 closeout, and in the thin air, high altitude of Denver, making it even more difficult. And also the 4th straight game for Vegas with travel, between games. After Game 4 in Minnesota, it was back to Vegas for Game 5, to Minnesota for Game 6, back to Vegas for Game 7, and then to Denver for Game 1 last night against the Avalanche. And you could tell they had no burst in their skating stride last night from the opening puck drop. And Alex, as you well know, if you don't have a burst in your skating stride and you're playing this rested, fast Colorado team, you're in big time trouble. You're not going to win any puck battles against this team if you don't have your speed game locked in. And Vegas didn't have it last night in terms of their speed. They were tired. They were gassed. They had nothing in the tank. Colorado took it to them early. And then the icing on the cake in terms of making it a brutal spot for Vegas was the shocking and somewhat, obviously it didn't pan out. He rolled the dice and he crapped out Peter DeBoer, putting Robin Lehner in net, giving Marc-Andre Fleury a rest. But I kind of get a sense for DeBoer that it's almost like, hey, you know what? We'll take the loss in game one. It's almost like before the game, maybe we'll take a loss tonight. We'll put Lehner in there. We'll rest Marc-Andre Fleury in his late 30s, give him a little bit of a chance to catch his breath after really having to face a lot of shots, play a lot of hockey in that Minnesota series. And look, I don't know what resulted in that decision. I think that was a big part of it, but nevertheless, he made that decision to go with Lehner, and it didn't work out. Colorado got to him early. But it was not just Lehner. You can't hang the whole thing on Lehner. I mean, the defense was terrible in front of him. There was just nothing in the tank, nothing in the collective Golden Knights gas tank in that game last night. It was domination by Colorado. Man, is this team fun to watch. I couldn't post on Facebook, Twitter enough about just how fun and exciting this Colorado team is. The speed, the puck movement, the defense. 1 through 6, their blue line can pinch at the offensive blue line and get back in position and transition because they're that fast. The goal that Nathan MacKinnon scored, unbelievable. The 6th goal to make it 6-1. He left Nicholas Hague in his dust. That's basically like an Indy car driving against a little school bus. That's essentially what I think it was, the difference. And Nathan MacKinnon was the Ferrari, was the Indy car. And Nick Hague was the little bus that couldn't keep up. And that's exactly what it was on that Nathan MacKinnon goal. Unbelievable how he could accelerate to top speed that quickly, Nathan MacKinnon. It's scary. Like I said on Twitter, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a rocket ship. No, it's Nathan MacKinnon for the Colorado Avalanche. A highlight reel goal and just, like I said, dominance from Colorado. Unfortunately, the game did get marred a little bit by an incident that took place. Look, the hit on Matthias Janmark. Let's go there first. Number one, I've seen much dirtier hits than that. Much dirtier hits than that. That hit was, okay, it was a little bit late, just a little bit late. I can understand Vegas being irked by that. No question about that. The principal point of contact was not to the head or the neck. It was just a little below that. And I understand the score at the time. If you're Vegas, you're a little bit pissed off because why are you putting that hit on our guy when you got this big lead in the game? Isn't it enough you're kicking our ass, you're kicking our tail right now? Do you really have to go out of your way if you're Ryan Graves there to hit Matthias Janmark, away from the puck, late, a little bit late? So I understand that idea that they're a little bit irked by that. But if they're irked, Vegas, by that hit because they think it was dirty, that I disagree with. That was not a dirty hit. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Pete DeBoer says. I don't care what the Golden Knight fan says. And the Golden Knight fan is going to say it's a dirty hit because he's sticking up for his guy, Matthias Janmark. And it's unfortunate. The result of the hit was unfortunate. No question. You hate to see Janmark leave the game like that and maybe have concussion symptoms and all that. That's disappointing. That's upsetting. You don't want to see anyone get hurt. But I've seen a lot worse and much dirtier hits than that. But you knew Ryan Gray, and I could tell right away after that hit, Janmark's off the ice. The Hockey Night in Canada feed, they zoom in on Ryan Reeves on the bench. You could tell this was like a pit bull that was just, with the growl face. You could see that right there and you knew this guy was going to do something, probably to Ryan Graves. And sure enough, third period rolls around. He clubs Grubauer a little bit behind the mask, and then there's Ryan Graves getting, basically attacked a little bit by Reeves. What made it bad was Reeves falls to the ice. He actually loses his helmet. His helmet pops off on the way down to the ice. And there's Reeves. He's got his knee down on the guy's head, essentially. And, just holding it there and really trying to push his face into the ice without a helmet on, I might add as well. Very, very vicious. Very, very, it was a little bit over the line, in my opinion, what Ryan Reeves did there. That's, and I think Alex had a Twitter comment that I saw, shit you can't do in the UFC, let alone a hockey rink. And to me, Ryan Reeves, that was a little over the line, much over the line. I mean, that could have been something really, really dangerous. Guy loses his helmet, and you're basically got the knee on his head. I think we saw a certain incident involving George Floyd last year, and I'm not going to compare the two But more, man, there are similarities, believe it or not, with that and what we saw last night with Ryan Reeves. It was just over the line, not necessary to go that far. That could have been something, that could have been a dangerous, dangerous situation for Ryan Graves. And Ryan Reeves now is having a hearing because of this. So that incident happens. I think Ryan Reeves, for the most part, has stayed out of major trouble, in terms of suspensions and fines and incidents, but he definitely pushes the envelope and he definitely goes to the edge of the line and once in a while will cross it. And I have seen him do it before. So then this morning to hear Peter DeBoer pulling a Fleetwood Mac, tell me sweet little lies, talking about Ryan Reeves as one of the cleanest players he's ever seen. I mean, you must be kidding me. One of the cleanest players I've ever dealt with as a head coach is Ryan Reeves. Look, there are much dirtier players than Ryan Reeves, but you're going to label Ryan Reeves as one of the cleanest players you've ever dealt with? Yeah, Pete, and I've scored 50 goals in the National Hockey League. Why don't we just give everybody a free pass to say shit that makes no damn sense and is a bunch of garbage? All right? Why don't we just give everybody a free pass to say nonsense and lies and not stick to facts? Come on, Pete. One of the cleanest players you've ever dealt with in the National Hockey League? I mean, unbelievable comment. I mean, what do you think we are, stupid? I mean, gosh. I mean, anyway, don't get me going on another rant here, but I couldn't believe it when I heard it, that he actually used one of the cleanest players I've ever had as one of my players as a head coach. I couldn't believe it when I heard talking about Ryan Reeves that way. But nevertheless, Ryan Reeves going to have a hearing today. We'll see how that pans out. And for Vegas, it's back to the drawing board. And look, we're going to wait till game 2 happens to judge if we have a series here. Because look, Vegas is going to be better. They are still a very good hockey team. They have pride. They're going to be a lot better in game 2. The bad situation is now behind them. They're going to have Marc-Andre Fleury back in net. It'll be a much tougher test for Colorado in game 2. That being said, I picked Colorado to win the series before it started. I even took them -1.5 games at even money. And I just think they're going to end up finding a way in 6 games or less to move past the Vegas Golden Knights. Alex, what's your thoughts on Vegas, Colorado, game 1 last night?
The 2 takeaways from the game is, one, I mean, Colorado's playing on a completely different level than everybody else right now. Their offense is rolling. They're getting some good goaltending. They're playing complete hockey right now. And this looks like an unstoppable team, even against the Vegas team that, yes, they had the 1 day off between game 7 and game 1. And we know the talent that they have, but it was all Colorado. Except Vegas got off to a slow start, which is to be expected, like they're coming off of that grueling series. But, it's funny, the Vegas fans, they're just so spoiled with, how good this team has been since day one. And the fact that, all last night they're bitching about, well, we had the 1 day off. We should have had 2 days off. Then now they're talking about with the hit, with Reeves, which, okay, first of all, like I said, the Graves hit wasn't a dirty hit at all. Maybe you could have called boarding on it, but, like I said, it wasn't a malicious intent. It was just, a timed hit and a big hit. And if Reeves was, upset about it, then what he should have done when he took the ice again and Graves was there? He should have dropped his fucking gloves and fought him. Instead, no, you wait until the game's way all out of proportion and you find him on the ground. Like you said, he basically puts his knee on his fucking neck. It was absurd. And then you had at the same time, you had Nick Hague and Burakovsky look like they were just squaring up one-on-one. Both of them kept their gloves on. They were just basically slapping each other. And I tweeted out, like, what the fuck are these guys doing right now? Like, you guys, like, you're already going to get penalties, right? You're going to get 2 or 4 minutes. What's the extra 5 minutes right now to just drop the gloves and fight? It's just unbelievable. And then the league wonders why they got to hand out all these fines and suspensions. And this is why, because they've created you've created a atmosphere of where, players, take liberties in and give out these dirty hits, these dirty plays, and then they don't, have to pay for it on the ice. They just got to pay for it out of pocket. Like, these guys aren't making, a shit ton of money to begin with. So it's just really annoying to see that. I know in the playoffs, yeah, you don't see fights happen that often, but no, that was a time to fight. If you felt that especially with your team down like that, if you felt Graves' hit was dirty, then Ryan Reeves should have got out there and challenged him to a fight, and then you end it. And then that's it. You don't have any scrums later on. And I'm sure other people noticed that, Philip Grubauer actually chopped Reeves in the back of the leg too in that incident. Like I said, just a lot of dirtiness, and none of it was handled on the ice. They're just waiting for the league office to make a call and hand down a suspension. It's like two brothers fighting and slapping each other, and then waiting for their parents to sort it out. It's just ridiculous. So I hate to see that. And sadly, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But as far as on the ice, this is Colorado's series to lose. I think they end up winning game 2, probably end up dropping game 3 in Vegas, and then they'll take care of business from there. I didn't jump on a series play, so I'm just going to be kind of going by this game by game. So not sure what I'm going to do for game 2, but I'm looking to circle Vegas game 3 when they get back home.
Yeah, definitely. Great an insight there and great opinions on that. Yeah, that was Burakovsky. I think that was Nick Hague. I believe he was tussling with there. Look, that's a bad matchup for Burakovsky. I could understand why he's a little bit trepidatious and hesitant to drop the gloves, but still, I mean, and the referee's got to get in there right away. Then if they've said, you got to have that sixth sense that, look, this is Burakovsky. You really think he's going to want to get in a fight with this big guy that's towering over him? Get in there and break it up right away. So we don't have to watch this. Well, it is kind of shameful and embarrassing to see just two guys pawing at each other there like that. It's exactly it. Just, for 30 seconds before one of the linesmen finally decided to screw in, get a clue and get in there and break it up. It was kind of silly to see all that. You're right. Yeah, I mean, definitely a situation that, and for Ryan Reeves, he's probably going to get something. You got to believe it. I mean, he got a 5-minute attempt to injure match penalty last night. That definitely looks like that is an automatic. I think that automatically
comes with a suspension.
Yep.
Yeah, I think the match penalty comes with a fine and suspension of at least a minimum 1 game. So, like I said, now his track record isn't as dirty as some other guys, so maybe it won't be he misses the whole series or anything like that. But like I said, with all the incidents that have gone on in the last 2 months in the league, it's going to have to be at least more than 2 or 3 games.
No doubt, absolutely. So Tampa down up 1-0, Colorado up 1-0 in those 2 series. Let's go to Monday night, and we're going to save the best for last, Vanessa Williams style on today's show. We're going to end the show with Montreal-Toronto Game 7. We're going to start with Boston Bruins hosting the New York Islanders Game 2 of the East Division Final second round series. Boston minus 195, even minus 200 now in some spots. The total 5 shaded to the over. And there's been Bruins money rolling in, even though we just heard about a couple hours ago, Craig Smith on the second line for the Bruins will not play tonight due to injury. And it does alter the chemistry a little bit because there has been a good chemistry developing with that second line, Hall, Krejci, and Smith. No question about that. And it's been good to see that line just play the way they have for the Bruins. The way I see it, Alex, the New York Islanders have to convince me that they won the Pittsburgh series for any other reason but the fact Tristan Jarry urinated all over himself in that series. And right now, the New York Islanders still, to me, have to prove that. They have to prove to me that they can beat a team in terms of really getting after them and taking the play to them. 5-on-5, even strength, and draw penalties. Because to me, let's be honest, they beat Pittsburgh, but there was an extended amount of time in that series where Pittsburgh was taking it to the Islanders. And unfortunately, every time the Islanders went down the ice, boom, the puck went in the net because the goaltending was a sieve. And the Islanders don't have that luxury anymore in this series here against the Boston Bruins because, look, Boston is a sturdy, sound, tight defensive team. They're as healthy as they've been all season on the blue line. That has made the difference as well. McAvoy's been excellent. Brandon Carlo has been terrific defensively. You talk about stick position, body position, being in the right place, blocking shots. Brandon Carlo's done that throughout these playoffs for the Bruins. They're now getting that secondary score. They're at least getting a second line. Can they get something from Coyle, DeBrusk? Those are the guys that are the Russian roulette guys, if you will, on this Boston team up front. It's that, you don't always get it from Coyle and from DeBrusk every game. If they could ever get those two guys specifically contributing and cashing in offensively, it's going to make this team even more dangerous. The Islanders got outplayed, outchanced. The shine is finally off Ilya Sorokin a little bit. He's had a great playoffs for the New York Islanders overall, but that was his worst game. And maybe it's a product of just Boston making life tough, getting traffic, throwing as many pucks to the net as possible, which I think has also been part of the MO as well. for the Bruins in this series. Just throw as many pucks and bodies to the net as you can. And now Barry Trotz, there's whispers. We don't know yet who's in net tonight for the Islanders, but there's whispers he might shake it up and go back to the veteran Semyon Varlamov, who, let's be honest, he was banged up a little bit down the stretch. And when he played in the Pittsburgh series, he was average. He was not all that great and all that reliable. It's exactly why, Barry Trotz went to Ilya Sorokin for the rest of that series after game 2, because he didn't like the game that night in net from Varlamov. So, it's a risk either way. I would honestly stick to Sorokin one more game. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, that there's Mike Sullivan is the one exception with the leash on Jari, which was ridiculous. But every other coach, it seems, has a very short leash on their goalie. And Sorokin, one loss? One of the few bad games he's had here in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we're considering a goalie change already. I'm not sure I'm down with that if I'm Barry Trotz. So we'll see where he goes here. I cashed a ticket with the over in game 1, and I'm coming back to it here in game 2. It's 5. It's minus 125. It's a good price. I think this Islander team defensively, is going to have some more trouble with Boston, because now they're getting second and third line support. We know what they're going to get from Marchand, Bergeron, and Pasternak. On that top line. They're going to deliver. It's what are you going to get from the second and third line? They're getting offense right now. On the flip side, I think the Islanders, the onus is on them to try to get out in front early, get a quick start. I do kind of lean to the Islanders in the first period. I think if I bet the Islanders, that's the way I'm betting it, is a first period bet. I'd expect their best early. The first period is plus 160 on the Islanders. I think I will have a play on that. I don't trust them to win the game, though, because I really, truly feel Boston was a lot better than the New York Islanders in game 1. They're playing excellent hockey right now. They're feeding off this now near full capacity crowd at TD Garden. Don't forget about that little element to this game, that now the Bruins have pretty much a full house supporting them of fans now for their home playoff games, and that's significant. So I think you're going to get a strong start from the Islanders in this game. So I do like that first period look, plus 160, but I'm going to just stick to that. I'm not going to go full game here on the Islanders. I do like the over, though, 5 as well for the full game. Cash the over in game 1. And I think as long as they're going to keep giving out a 5 for totals in this series, I think that's where the value is going to be. And look, we said it all season, Alex, totals of 5, regular season, and so far here in the playoffs, they've been going over more than they've been going under. So I like the over here, and as well a smaller bet on the Islanders, plus 160 in the first period. Alex, what do you think here? Game 2, Islanders Bruins.
Yeah, I mean, this was a fairly close battle in the first 40 minutes of play. Like you said, we know the secondary scoring that you're getting from Boston has been superb thus far, but you also got to look at, on the Islanders, their goal distribution is pretty much coming from their second line, not their first. You got 10 goals and 10 assists from their second liners, Bavilier, Nelson, and Bailey. But Komarov, Barzal, and Eberle, just 2 goals so far, and they had only 3 shots on goal during the first half of that game. So they've got to step it up the same way where Boston's got to keep producing with the second line players. And like I said, the over makes sense at 5. If we see this one go over, I think the 5s will be gone. We'll be seeing 5.5 more than likely in game 3 and down the stretch. And obviously that depends on who we see in net for the Islanders as well. I agree with you. Sorokin should get the start, and then if he falters here, you go to Varlamov. You don't want to rattle a young goalie just by yanking him out of having one bad game. You want to instill some confidence in him, and I think giving him another start would be a good idea. But I like the Islanders here to get this win. I think this is a ridiculous price, to be honest. Plus 170, 175. That's awfully high, especially when these two teams always play each other tight. I wouldn't talk anybody out of going against playing the draw here either, plus 315. We've seen a lot of close games between these two clubs. I wouldn't be shocked to see a 4-3 Islanders win in overtime. So I like the Islanders. I actually got it at plus 165, and then it kept moving up. So you get 170, 175 if you shop around. I think it's a good price. They'll be able to even this series up.
All right, there you go. So Alex likes Islanders full game. I'm only on the first period, but I've seen this movie before with the Islanders. Like they definitely were the second best team in game 1. But there's been a lot of times that, hey, they've been counted out after one game, and look out, they roar back the next game. And I like the way, like you said, Beauvillier, Eberle, Nelson, Yeah, they played. Bailey has stepped up a little bit too. We're waiting on Matt Barzal, though. They got through Pittsburgh because of shitty goaltending from Jari without Matt Barzal doing anything. He's got to do something in this series. You're not beating Boston if he's as silent and he's as non-existent and as unproductive in this series as he was against Pittsburgh. He is your guy. He is your best in terms of skill player. He is the best guy you got offensively. He has got to do a whole lot more for the New York Islanders. Matthew Barzal, the onus is on him tonight and for the rest of this series to get his game in gear, because it isn't at this point in time. Speaking of a team that doesn't have their game in gear right now, the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm absolutely, I can't even say I'm shocked anymore that we're in this spot with this team again in a Game 7. That's just what they do. It's been a loser's mentality since 1967 with this franchise, and it's just kept on going this year. You have 2 cracks to get this series over with, and what do you do in the first period of Game 5? Fall behind. What do you do in the first period of Game 6? Well, you don't fall behind, but you damn well should have, because Jack Campbell had to stand on his head to keep that game 0-0. Unprepared, no killer instinct, timid. This is a timid hockey team. Didn't come out to put their foot on the throat of Montreal at the beginning of either of the last 2 games. And now here they are in a Game 7 as minus 195, minus 200 home favorites. The total 5.5 shaded to the under, although there's now 5s popping up Bet Online and some other books. So heavy under money here in this game with the Habs and the Leafs, and hard to argue with that. I'll say that right now. It's really devolved into a low scoring, tight checking series with excellent goaltending on both sides from Jack Campbell and Carey Price. There's not a lot of room to move right now on the ice. Will that change here in Game 7? Will things loosen up? Perhaps, but I'm not willing to bet on it. That's for sure. I think it's going to be probably another close, competitive hockey game. And for the Leafs, this is where it's gut check time. You're supposed to be a team that's going to make this run, that is equipped to finally win a playoff series and make a deep run. And now this is your opportunity to change the narrative. Things are looking dire right now. There is no way you could say that the pressure is anywhere but on the Leafs tonight. It is. Simple as that. If you think the pressure is on the team that just won 2 straight in this series, you need your head examined. It's not. It's on the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a team that has not won a playoff series in 17 years, not won a cup in 54 years. They have not done anything, this team. This franchise has done nothing for basically 2 decades now, at least, in terms of at least any playoff success. Matt Sundin and Joe Nieuwendyk and Gary Roberts were playing for the Leafs, and Pat Quinn, who's not even alive on this planet anymore, was the coach of the team. That's the last time they won a playoff series. That's what we're talking about here. That's the level of futility we're talking about with this Toronto Maple Leafs team. And now it's up to them to pick their asses up off the mat, whatever they got to do to get prepared for this game. I don't want to hear Mitch Marner, if they lose tonight, say we weren't prepared to play, because if you're not prepared to play, you're never as a group going to ever do anything in terms of winning anything significant. And preparing to play is not just a mentality. You got to follow it with action on the ice. It would be nice, and I'm sure it'd be comforting for the Leaf fan to see the Leafs actually control the game in the first period for a change. That would be nice, wouldn't it? You haven't seen that the last couple, with a chance to close out this series, and to hear Mitch Marner say absolute nonsense that, we weren't ready to play when you have 2 chances to win a series and you've done nothing, and yet somehow you weren't ready to play. Unbelievable stuff. That you got to hear nonsense like that, garbage like that, just an absolute losing, weak-ass mentality to have that kind of start to the game, the last 2 games when you have a chance to win a series. This is all about mentality. I think you throw out X's and O's here. It's very, very simple. If Toronto's going to win this game, number one, you need a good start. You need a good first period. You're now going to have 550 fully vaccinated healthcare workers. Most of them will be Leaf fans, the majority in attendance. You're going to at least have some noise, some crowd environment tonight at Scotiabank Arena. Go out there and take the first period and take the play to Montreal, which is the polar opposite of the way things have gone the last 2 games in this series, where Montreal has been all over you in the first period. That's what you got to do. And number 2, it's M&M. I'm not talking about the wrapper. I'm not talking about the candy. I'm talking about Matthews and Marner. That's what I'm talking about. M. They need to show up. They need to produce. Austin Matthews has given me effort nightly. I know that. His play away from the puck has been terrific. He's been very good defensively. He's winning faceoffs. He's getting chances. I can't say the same for Marner. Marner's got to elevate his effort level. It's not good. You can't have that terrible delay game penalty the other night. Those two have to be primary difference makers for the Leafs to win this game tonight. And plus, the other thing they need is Jack Campbell to be every bit as good as he was in Game 6. The loss the other night was not Jack Campbell's fault. He was terrific. He was beyond good in that game. He was sensational, in my opinion. Couldn't have asked for more from Jack Campbell. Those three things happen, the Leafs win tonight. If they get off to a strong start, if Matthews and Marner make a difference, make an impact, and if Campbell's great, they win this game. Simple as that. But I can't bet on that, and I'm sure as hell not betting on it at minus 200 or thereabouts. I'm not doing that. Not even close in my mind. What I am going to do is look, this series would be such a fitting end to see Game 7 go to overtime. We've now seen overtime in back-to-back games. I'm going on the draw here at this plus price here. That is the bet I'm going to look at. Small bet on the draw here in this game. And I'm also going to bet pregame the third period over. I'm going to bet it now because it's over 1.5 in the third period. At 5 dimes, you can bet it. DraftKings Sportsbook. Again, our great partnership here with the Hockey Podcast Network, DraftKings. It's another reason to sign up. Promo code THPN. There we go. I'm doing it early to remind you. DraftKings has third period totals when it comes to NHL hockey. And you can get over 1.5 in that minus 155, minus 160, minus 180 range. So shop around. You actually still might have that be a better price than you'll be able to bet in the second intermission. So it doesn't hurt you to bet the third period over 1.5, prior to the game tonight. So those are the two bets, draw as well as the third period over for me in this game with the Habs and the Leafs. And one thing I forgot in my rant against the Leafs on the Sunday show, and this is just such a thing where you look at it and you say, only the Leafs could be part of this kind of history. The Toronto Maple Leafs are the only team in NHL history to erase multiple goal deficits in the third period of back-to-back Stanley Cup playoff games and go on to lose both of those games. They're the first team in NHL history to have that happen to them. The Toronto Maple Leafs, first team in NHL history, back-to-back playoff games, they erase a 2-goal or larger third period deficit only to go on and still lose both games to lose them. Only the Leafs. Only this franchise could find their way to that kind of history. Classic. Alex, what do you think here? All the marbles, Game 7.
Yeah, this Leafs team, I mean, they pretty much seem like they're the Cleveland Indians of hockey, just the way that they, consistently choke year after year, have chances to close out, and they just can't finish it. Like you said, that's an astronomically, bad stat for the Leafs. Like you said, to have that back-to-back games, you come back and tie the game up only to lose in overtime. And, I'm right there with you. I won't be playing the draw because I have a prop of exactly 3 overtimes in this series at plus 550. We should have already cashed that because game 1 should have gone to overtime. We had the goal late, but we got back-to-back. So now I'm hoping to see overtime as well, but I got a bigger price at stake with here, plus 550. So I'm hoping that cashes, hoping you get your draw with that. And I'm also telling you on that third period over. The interesting thing now is we've been seeing with these elimination games, I know the couple books that I use for live wagering, they haven't even offered a third period over. They'll offer the first period over, total, second period total. Third period, they just remove it and just give you a live game number, but it's not adjusted to 1.5 like it is pregame. It's adjusted more so to 2.5 or even 3.5, depending on how high scoring the contest has been. So, you're going to have to jump on it now. You have to lay that little bit of juice at 150. I don't mind doing that. So I'll definitely be on that. I could see this being a slow starting game. And then, we see action in the second, third, and then that takes us into OT. If you do think the Leafs are going to win this contest, I would say go with the first period puck line because, like I said, they have to control early. They have to do that. They have to get on the board first. So any of those props, either the Leafs to score first or first period puck line, if you're backing the Leafs, that's the way to go for that. Obviously, if you think the Habs will win, obviously you want to take that big plus price, but I'm staying away from any side, and even the total is a little bit iffy for me here. So I'm just going to go with the third period over, and then hope that your draw cashes so that I can get my plus 550 for the series with 3 overtimes.
Yeah, this side is just that's why I'm just only betting the draw when it comes to side bets pregame in this game in terms of the side. And like I said, we were both on the over 1.5 in the third period. In terms of the question in the chat, why would you lay minus 180 pregame on a third period over when you can wait to bet live 3 minutes in at a better price? That is true, but I'm not putting the entire third period over bet pregame. I'm putting probably half of it, 60% of it. I think 60% of it is what I'm going to go with it. 60% of my third period over wager is going to be pregame. The other 40% I'll look in game for it. That's the way I'm going about it. It's not a 100-0 on the pregame third period over. It's a 60 to 40% split for me. Third period over versus looking to find 1 second intermission or early in the third live.
And that's fair, but like I said, if you have that option to do that, then that's more than fair to split the unit apart. But for some of us, like I said, I can't do that. I'm gonna have a full unit on that third period over at 150 because I know my book has been adjusting to where it's basically a 2.5 line, adjusted within the full game total live. So if your book has the third period option in game still, then yes, wait for the adjusted price. But if not, then go in and lock in a better price now because you don't want to get either just completely shut out of it, or having to pay for another goal.
Let me just say this, King Key. If the Leafs lose, he's asking, are they a bigger choke artist franchise ever? I don't want to say the biggest, but one of. They're absolutely one of. If they spit the bit tonight and blow this 3-1 series lead with this talent and with this roster that they have, which is as well built for a Stanley Cup, or at least a run for it, as any Leaf team in recent memory, this is a epic disaster. This is a cataclysmic failure. This is an epic. This is just a disaster. This is just absolutely catastrophic for this Leaf franchise, for the fan base. Talk radio in and around Toronto is already on fire after letting it get to Game 7, and it's going to be 10 times just as hard as can be on this team and this organization if they lose and they spit this bit tonight in Game 7. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be extremely ugly.
Yeah, they would be in territory with the Minnesota Vikings, the Buffalo Bills, the Chicago Cubs of the world if they blow this. I mean, it would be, like I said, it would just be absolutely disastrous. And I can't imagine what it would be like in Toronto, just around in the area. People were thinking about when Vancouver lost Game 7 of the finals back in 2011. They ran out into the streets. That it could be that kind of a chaotic scene, honestly, because this has just been a long-suffering fan base, and to drop another series in this fashion would just be unfathomable.
That's a good point about Phillip Danault. He does deserve credit. His defensive play from that center spot, having a shadow Matthews and that line the entire series, he's done a great job. He really has. And I wasn't sure he would because, look, Danault was getting lit up in the regular season by the Matthews line. Danault didn't have any defensive answers for Matthews during the regular season, and that's what I said going into this series. But look, playoffs are a different animal. Some players rise up to the occasion in the playoffs and others don't. Danault has risen to the challenge of having to defend one of the best players in the NHL in this series, and he's done as good of a job as you could ask for against him. And now it's up to Matthews and Marner to elevate. This guy is elevated defensively against you, Danault, for the Habs. You've got to elevate now. The onus is on you to show up here in this game. No one's going to show up for you. You got to put the boots on. You got to put the hard hat on. You got to get the lunch pail in your hand. Go out there and work for it. Work for it. Because I didn't see them work for it early in the game the other night. And like I said, as I promised, and as I promised Leafs Nation, I will unleash such hell on this team tomorrow on this show if they lose tonight. It's going to make your head spin. I will run this team right into the ditch if they've gagged this away once again. It's basically this is basically exercising the demons. That's what's at stake for the Leafs tonight. Exercising the demons of 2013, blowing a 4-1 lead in the third period to the Boston Bruins and losing in overtime, blowing a lead to the Bruins a couple of years ago in the playoffs. Blowing it last year the way they did in the postseason. There's just all kinds of bad memories. Just not, Columbus failing against the Jackets in the bubble. Go on and on and on about the failures, the disappointments, and the early exits for this Leafs team. And again, not one playoff series victory for this team in 17 years. That's on the line tonight. And if this group can't get it done, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. You're not blowing this thing up. You've got too much money tied up in various players. You're not firing the GM because Dubas has actually, I think, put it together a heck of a roster. It's up to them not getting it done. And you're not going to fire Sheldon Keefe this early because it's only a couple years. And Sheldon Keefe is Kyle Dubas's guy. Sheldon Keefe has been Kyle Dubas's coach with the Marlies in the AHL when he was the GM there. Sheldon Keefe was Kyle Dubas's coach going all the way back to the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds in the Ontario Hockey League. These two guys are locked at the hip. They're frickin' frack, okay? There's going to be no coaching change if they lose tonight. You're stuck. You're stuck as fuck, as I like to say, if you're the Leafs, if you lose tonight. You can't do anything. You can't go anywhere. You can't just have sweeping changes. You're not blowing up the roster. You're probably not getting rid of the GM. And if the GM stays, he's not firing the coach because it's his guy. And it's been his guy for going on a decade in various places. So what do you do if you lose tonight? Your hands are tied almost. So that's what makes this worse if they lose tonight, because they really have nowhere to go. In terms of, where's their out? Where's their alternative option if things go south tonight and they lose? It's hard to find it for the Toronto Maple Leafs. No question about that. All right, that is the Monday card. It should be a great night of hockey. Bruins Islanders game 2, Toronto Montreal game 7. What else needs to be said? And that's the other thing. They lose tonight. It's not only with this team, with this group, with these expectations, with everything that's happened in the last 17 years, but it's blowing a 3-1 lead, and it's blowing the lead to a team that you're supposed to be better than, and B, they're your hated rival, the Montreal Canadiens. It would be the worst. This is rock frickin' bottom for the Leafs if they blow this thing tonight. But I'm going to give them one chance to prove me wrong and change the narrative. We'll see if they can do it. All right, we'll get to best bets in just a second to wrap up the show. Before we do that, though, a reminder, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, use the promo code THPN, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball daily. Great time of year. If you download DraftKings, sign up for the account with the app. You'll get deposit bonuses, weekly specials, incentives, bet boosts, all of that and more. Make sure you check them out. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up for an account, and use the promo code THPN. All right, it is time for best bets for this Monday NHL Stanley Cup playoff card on this Memorial Day. Alex B. Smith, we'll start with you. What do you like for best bet?
I'm going to go with the Islanders, plus 170 as my best bet. I think that's a very high price for a team that, was still alive for the majority of that contest. Obviously, the Bruins are playing great hockey, but I think this is going to be the time where we see that Barry Trotz system hard at work. They try to clamp things down and slow this team up a little bit. So I think this is going to be a tight game. Probably could see OT, but I like the Islanders to win. Plus 170 is my best bet tonight.
All right, New York Islanders plus 170 against the Boston Bruins. Best bet for Alex B. Smith. My best bet is going to be, I'm going to go back to what was best bet for me from this series in game 1 on Saturday night. New York Islanders, Boston Bruins over 5 minus 125. I like that bet. To me, I think the series is going to work out a little bit differently for the Islanders. Their own goaltending is not going to be quite as good, I think, against Boston. We saw signs of that. A little bit of trouble defending the Bruins. I think the onus on the Islanders tonight is get a little bit more offense going. And I think the value with this total being where it is definitely over when you get a 5. And look, it's a 5 because of the Bruins' defensive reputation as well as the Islanders' defensive reputation. But we have seen these two teams offensively outperform their season-long offensive numbers, and this total doesn't account for that. The current form is these teams have perked up offensively. I think that continues tonight. Islanders Bruins over 5 minus 125 in game 2. My best bet for tonight. That'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and listening. If you're listening on the podcast, a reminder, the Ice Guys is live on YouTube 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and iHeart. You can find the podcast on all those places. And clearly you've been finding us because we're over 12,000 podcast downloads since February when we partnered with the Hockey Podcast Network. And we thank all of you for that. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. Happy Memorial Day. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday for another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.